Hello, you beautiful soul. Welcome to the podcast. This is Zia, the Mystic Visionary, and welcome to this week's episode where I'm going to pull a word and talk about what that means in the new paradigm. And if you don't know what that's talking about, you need to go back to episode 1 and learn about what I'm doing. Or you can go to the link in the show notes that takes you to the website that explains it all. Okay, so here I am ready to pull a word for today. And I've got my box in front of me with all my little slips of paper. I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to pick one. Here it is. This is my word for the week. Time. Time. That's a good word. All right. Well, I'm going to meditate on that and then I'll come back and talk about it. Okay, I'm back. Well, that was interesting. I got two things. One thing was time, and the other thing was no time. In the new paradigm, or in the old, let me start with the old paradigm. In the old paradigm, time is something we don't have enough of. Time is like this limited thing that we run out of. It's like we have this concept of it's a commodity that's limited. Like we have 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day. It's like those hours are these precious moments of time that we have to make the most of, and there's never enough. I know that so many people are so busy, and that word is like, busy is the word that says, I don't have enough time. And that's what the old paradigm is all about. It's like this race against time, this feeling of this limitation that we're being pushed into this funnel of not having enough time. And I understand that because I've been there. I understand that feeling of like I have to work and I have to do this and I have these obligations and those obligations and there's just not enough time in the day. And then the other aspect of that is that when you do have time off, that you feel guilty if you do nothing. It's like, man, I'm just going to sit on the couch and watch TV and just be lazy or do nothing. And then you feel guilt-ridden because you're wasting time. It's kind of a crazy concept, it's so crazy. It's funny, I heard a quote by Albert Einstein, and it is, the only reason for time is so that everything doesn't happen at once. And I just thought that was funny. Like in our world, time is this thing, like I said, there's just not enough of it, and it goes by so quickly. In the new paradigm, we have the idea of no time. And no time is more about the idea of being in the present moment. And most people understand that when they're involved in something that they really enjoy. Like I like to create. So when I'm in this creation mode, I can just escape time and hours will go by and I don't even realize that hours have gone by. Or other times I could be with friends or out doing something together with people and all of a sudden hours have just gone by and you don't even know it's happened. Or out in nature or involved in or reading, when you're reading a good book and you get absorbed in the book and pretty soon you realize you've been reading for 3 hours. Time just disappears and nothing's really changed but you. You have changed because you have chosen to let your consciousness go someplace else. You've let your consciousness be absorbed into whatever the activity is, or the reading, or the creating, or the adventuring, or the whatever it is. You have made a choice to let go of time. When we're caught up in time, like in the old paradigm, we're constantly looking at the clock. We're constantly pushing ourselves. We're constantly aware that we have places to be and things to do and appointments to keep. And there's a cycle of just busyness and consciousness on time. Whereas when you're in that creative zone, then you allow yourself to forget about all those constructs. And I think that's what the Einstein quote is about. We need to have that separation so everything's not happening at once. I love the idea of being in the present moment, and how many of us really only go there occasionally. I have been trying harder and harder to spend more time in the present moment. I call the present moment the 0 point field, or the 0 point. It's like when I'm in the present moment, I'm not consumed by the past, and I'm not worried about the future. In the 0 point field, I look at it as a scale, and zero's in the center, and then negative numbers go to the left and positive numbers go to the right. So if I am worried about something, it goes into the negative, and it's like, is it a -3 or -4 or -5? Or if I'm concerned about the future, I have that, future idea. It's all this sort of negative thing. The other side on the positive is more like, oh, I really like that. I want this to happen. I'm attached to this thing and this outcome. I'm excited. Oh, I can't wait till this thing happens. So it's like the plus, it feels like a positive, but it's taking you away from the present moment. So I try to back myself down the scale, either from being excited about something or liking something too much, or on the other side being fearful or going down the scale. And the minus is like recognizing that I'm not staying in the present moment. And that is the place to be, is that, present moment awareness, that 0 point field. And you can't live your entire day there, but you can find a way to bring yourself back to that when you get caught up in this crazy hurry, rush. I don't have enough time. I've got to be here. I've got to do this. It's like that is the creation of this culture that we're in, this consciousness of, I don't even know what to call that consciousness of busyness, that busyness factor, escaping from this moment to try to rush to the next moment and not being in the current moment that you're living. Because really, the only thing we have is the current moment. And whenever you rush out of that, you're lost, and you're in, as Eckhart Tolle talks about, your pain body. You create suffering because you have lost touch with what is true and real for you is this present moment awareness. Time is a construct. Time is something that we created to help us have organization in our lives. It's nothing more than that. And it also is, it's like, there's another quote about Einstein. He says, reality is an illusion, but it's a persistent illusion. That's the same thing with time. Time is truly an illusion, but it's a persistent illusion, so much so that you cannot break yourself from it. There's this, the reality of it seems so great that you can't escape it. But the truth of the matter is, when you are in those moments, like I said, those creative moments, or those time when you get, or go to the movies and you're suddenly taken away in a movie, and suddenly 3 hours, a long movie is 3 hours. There's movies like that where people say, oh, I can't believe it was 3 hours. It went by so fast, because you left that reality zone of time. And it's possible. It's not something that's impossible. And that's what meditation is about. That's why people meditate. That's why I meditate. It takes you out of that consciousness of time and allows you to be in this bigger field of the present moment awareness where there's no time. And that is good for your soul. And that is good for your body. That's good for your biology. That's good for your mental health. That's good for everything about your life, is to take some time, take some no time, take some no time to be free from that consciousness of time. When I first started meditating, I timed myself. That reminded me when I said that. Take some time. I would time myself and set a timer, and when the dong went off on my phone on the app, it was like, okay, I did my meditation time. And that I encourage people to do that. 20 minutes 2 times a day. It's like, set a timer, go do it. Take that amount of time out for yourself to let go of time. And if you have a timer, then you don't feel like you're going overboard. But now I don't do that. Now I just go in, usually listening to some kind of music on my headphones, or sometimes nothing. And I just let myself stay in that space as long as I need to, or as long as I want to. And sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes it's an hour. It just depends on how I'm feeling. But I don't go into it with the idea of time as my first thing, like I did at the beginning. I've done that years ago. Okay, 20 minutes, 2 times a day. Set the timer. Go for it. Sometimes I do it for 5 minutes, or, I don't even count the minutes, but I take that time to quiet myself, go inside, let go of everything, and just be in the present moment. That's a practice, and that is something that everybody needs to do. And the more you do it, the easier it is, just like anything else. With repetition, it becomes easier and easier. And now I can go into that 0 point field pretty easily. And it makes such a difference in my life. When I find myself in that, oh my gosh, hurry mode, got to do this, I have too much to do, my to-do list is so long, I've got to accomplish this and that, and I get in that whirling vortex of, I don't have enough time. That's when I know that I need to go into that place of being in the present moment, in that 0 point field where there is no time, where I allow myself to put the clock away, to just be present with myself, with my own higher self, with that opening to the field of unlimited possibilities, and just allowing information to come. That's the other part of this, that when we're so wrapped up in time and we're so focused on the clock, we don't allow that part of us, that intuitive part of us, that part of us that's connected to this greater field, to have time, or to have that ability to explore possibilities. And that's part of what we need as far as visioning goes. I've talked about it in other podcasts about this whole idea of creating an intention and visualizing what it is that you want to create. And in order to do that, in order to really use your mind and visualize what you really want, you have to take time for that. You have to say, okay, I'm going to go daydream for a while. And as I said before, we've used the word daydreaming as a negative. We've learned as children, oh, quit daydreaming. You're just daydreaming. Daydreaming is just like when you have nothing else to do and you have a Saturday afternoon that you can go sit by a lake. Well, then you can daydream. Where I believe that is a crucial part of creation. That's a crucial part of manifesting and setting an intention, using your imagination to imagine what it is that you want to create in your life, taking the time to fully bring that into form inside your imagination. That is a huge huge ability that we have as human beings that gets downplayed because we're so caught up in being time limited because we have so much to do and not enough time. So why would we spend any time setting an intention and daydreaming or imagining a possibility for our life if we're too busy living our life? And one thing I have learned, and it's a huge, huge lesson, that letting go of all those things that I thought were so important, and what happens when I let go of all those things that I thought were so important in my time world, is that it allowed me to open myself up to that field, to envision my life in a different way, and spend time feeling what that feels like. What does it feel like to have that heartfelt life that you dream about or that you think about? You know, I did that whole heart quiz. It's linked in the show notes where you ask yourself the question, am I listening to the call of my heart? And you take the quiz and you find out which archetype you are. And most of the archetypes are like the scary heart, or they're the blocked heart. There's the people who are not listening to their heart because they're too busy trying to live their life, and their heart is trying to tell them what it wants, but we can't even hear it. So are you really listening to the call of your heart? And I created all that because that's what happened to me. I knew that I was so busy trying to make all the people in my life happy that I had no time for myself. And I had covered up the calling of my heart with this paper mache, I call it. Like I had been wounded, so I covered my heart. I had somebody who treated me badly, so I covered my heart. I didn't want to be vulnerable, so I covered my heart. So I stopped listening to my heart, and I was living in my head in this time-bound world of time and other people. And when I realized that I couldn't even hear my heart, when I started listening to it, I used this little device from the Heart Math Institute where you put it on your ear and you attach it to your phone and you meditate, and you can see if your heart and your mind are in coherence. And the more you do it, the more you can align with that heart-brain coherency. And I was realizing when I had the best results, when I really was listening to my heart, I felt love and compassion and care, and there was this deeper sense of understanding and knowing. And then I started hearing things from my heart like I hadn't been listening, and I needed to. And so that's why I created all that quiz and all that. But partly what it takes is for you to listen to your heart. You have to get quiet. You have to go into that silence. You have to turn inside. You need to put your hands on your heart, open up and say, what do you want me to know? And then you need to listen. And when you do that, your life starts to transform. And that is not involved with the clock at all. There's no clock involved with that. That's an internal knowing. That's an internal experience of you connecting with that deepest, most intimate part of you, where the wisdom of who you are and why you're here is available to you. But if you're on this hamster wheel of got to do this, got to do that, I have this appointment, I got to go here, I've got this 20 things I got to get done today, oh gosh, I'm supposed to be there by 4, I better hurry. When are you listening to your heart? When are you taking time to go inside, to be quiet, to be silent, to listen? And that's what's necessary in our world today. We have so much craziness going on, so much fear, so much uncertainty, so much just insanity in the world, that the place where you can go inside, that place of no time, and connect with your own inner self and have that quiet time of that 0 point field, changes everything. And partly that I've learned from that is that when I do take that time to listen to my heart. And then I get a message. I'm like, wow, my heart really wants me to be around water. And something kept calling to me about water. And so then I started thinking, what is that? What do I want? I want to be by water. I want to be in the green. I want to be by water. And then I started imagining what that felt like. And in my imagination, I imagined this place by a stream. And I had a little, like a bed or little meditation area I created on the stream in my imagination. And I would sit there and I would hear the water and I would see the beautiful trees and the birds and the sky. And I would just breathe, and time was completely vanished. And then all of a sudden things started happening in my life that are bringing me closer to water. We just bought a new house. It's on a lake. And it's in the trees, it's in the forest. There's like, it's green everywhere. Everything just sort of lined up and started happening around that. And that came from me listening to my heart. Like, what do I really need? It's funny, I was born in the desert. I grew up in the desert. I wanted to escape the desert, which I did for a while. And then I moved back to the desert to care for my parents when they were ill. And then I stayed in the desert. But I realized I hate the desert. And I kept journaling about that. Oh, I can't stand the desert. I can't stand the dry. I love green. I love water. And I just ignored that and ignored it. And finally, when I really started listening to my heart, I had to say, own the fact that you want to be in the green and you want to be around water. That is who you are. That is where you're going to thrive. That is where you feel the most alive. Why are you denying yourself that? I had 100 excuses why I couldn't leave or why it didn't make sense. But then I had to face it. And once I allowed myself to own that and to hold that and listen to that part of me, my heart, the calling of my heart, then all of a sudden the universe started arranging things for me. It wasn't like I had to even do anything. Of course, I had to do a few things that I made some choices that led me in that direction, and things started happening. But first, I had to get out of this time crunch that I put myself in, this world of time limitation, and move into the no time. And that's the biggest thing that people need to understand. If you're feeling like you don't have enough time, then you need to figure out a way to get into that no time space. And getting into that no time space is through meditation, or through creativity, or through whatever means possible that for you takes you out of time. It could be reading, it could be cooking, it could be woodworking, it could be hiking, it could be bird watching, it could be whatever it is for you, surfing, or, whatever. There's a zillion things, but whatever it is that allows you to let time just escape and disappear, and you don't even think about time, then do that more often. And it needs to be a priority, not something you go, when I go on vacation, I'm going to meditate. No, when you need to do it every day, it needs to be a practice. There's this old Zen saying that says, you should sit in meditation for 20 minutes a day. Unless you're too busy, then you should sit for an hour. And I think that explains it all, truly. The busier you are, the more you need to meditate. The more you need to take that time for escaping the clock. And when I say meditate, again, I'm not saying sitting cross-legged on the floor with your hands in some kind of mudra and oming. You could do it that way, but there's a million other ways. What it means is to go into a place of going inside, letting time disappear, and being connected to this greater field. That's what needs to happen. That's what everyone needs. We all need that. It's like medicine. And we live in a culture, in that old paradigm, where time is this beast that we have to contend with. Where in the new paradigm, we all know that the way to get more time is to let go of time, to connect with that field, to connect with this internal understanding of being present in the moment. And what happens then is time disappears. Then you're in no time. All right, well, thank you for whoever picked that word, time. It was a good one. And I encourage you to find a way to connect with that no time zone. It's available to you, and you can experience it. All right, have a great week. I'll be back with another word next week. If you want to learn more about the 5 guiding principles of the new paradigm, you can listen to my audiobook, which is The Pocket Guide to the New Paradigm, which is a free audiobook on YouTube. I'll link it below. And the other thing that I have available is the Heart Archetype Quiz. It's a short quiz that answers the question, am I listening to the call of my heart? And you take the quiz and you'll discover what might be blocking you from living the call of your heart. And I think that's what we're all being called to do right now, is to look inside, connect with our heart, and follow its guidance. If you want to take that quiz, there's a link right below. If you have any questions or comments, feel free. You can also leave those below.